5 children went missing in a house fire in the early hours of Christmas morning, 1945. The house burned to the ground, and when the ground cooled, the people who searched it found nothing. No bodies, no teeth, nothing anyone could identify as a child. So the question at the center of this case was never really where the children went. The question is why. After a fire in a small West Virginia town, there was nothing left to prove they had been inside. George and Jenny Sodder lived in Fayetteville, West Virginia, a coal town in the southern part of the state. George ran a trucking business, hauling dirt and freight. They had 10 children. By the end of 1945, the oldest son was serving in the Army, which meant 9 children were home for Christmas. That evening was ordinary in the way that only becomes remarkable later. Presents. Children asking to stay up, some of them awake in the upstairs bedrooms long after their parents had gone to bed. Sometime after midnight, the house caught fire. George and Jenny got out. So did 4 of their children. 5 did not. Maurice, 14. Martha, 12. Louis, 9. Jenny, 8. Betty, 5. What happens next is drawn from the family's own accounts, given to investigators and to reporters over the following decades. Some of it can be corroborated. Some of it cannot. According to the family, George tried to get back into the burning house and could not reach the upper floor. He went for a ladder he kept against the side of the building. The ladder, he said, was not where it should have been. He tried both of his trucks. Neither would start, though both had been running the day before. Jenny's daughter tried to call the operator. According to the family, the call did not go through. A neighbor drove into town to raise the alarm in person. Fayetteville had a volunteer fire department. Firefighters arrived after the house had already collapsed into its own basement. By morning, there was almost nothing left standing. The search of the site was brief. Authorities concluded that the fire had been accidental, most likely caused by faulty wiring, and that the 5 missing children had died inside. A death certificate was issued for each of them. That was the official answer. It arrived quickly, and it never substantially changed. The Sodders did not accept it, and the reasons they gave were specific. The absence of remains was the first. A fire that consumes 5 children entirely, leaving nothing recognizable, struck them as impossible. Jenny is reported to have run her own crude experiments, burning animal bones, and finding that bone survived. Then the details started accumulating. A phone repairman who examined the line, the family said, told them it had been cut, not burned. The missing ladder was later found some distance from the house. Both trucks had failed. A witness reported seeing balls of fire thrown toward the roof. Months after the fire, one of the surviving children, Sylvia, found a hard rubber object in the yard that the family later described as resembling a pineapple bomb, and there were sightings. A woman said she had seen children looking out of a passing car while the house burned. A worker at a hotel in Charleston said she had served breakfast to children matching their description. I want to be precise here, because this is where the case usually stops being an investigation and starts being a story. None of that has been independently verified. Every item on that list comes to us through the family, through local recollection, or through witnesses who came forward without documentation. George and Jenny spent the rest of their lives on it. They hired private investigators. They petitioned officials. Reportedly, the FBI's response was that the matter appeared to be local and that the Bureau would assist only if local authorities asked. They did not ask. The Sodders put up a billboard on Route 16 with their children's faces and an offer of a reward, and left it standing for decades. In 1967, a photograph arrived in the mail. A young man, dark eyes, dark hair. According to later accounts, the envelope carried a Kentucky postmark and no return address, and a short note on the back suggested the man in the picture was Louis. Jenny believed it was her son. An investigator sent to follow up on it, by most accounts, was never heard from again on the matter. The photograph has never been authenticated. Nobody has ever matched it to a living person. It is, at this distance, an image of a stranger. Now the harder half. The strongest argument in this case is the ordinary one, that the 5 children died where everyone assumed they died, and that the failure was not a conspiracy, but an investigation. House fires of that period, in wood frame homes with no fire suppression, could burn for hours. This one collapsed into a basement and continued to burn there. Nobody with forensic training examined that site. Nobody sifted the debris systematically. The search was performed by exhausted local men in the ashes of a neighbor's home, looking with their eyes in a place where a floor's worth of rubble had fallen into a pit. And then the site was covered over. Within days, according to accounts of the period, filled dirt was brought in, partly to make a memorial of the ground. Whatever was in that basement was now under 5 feet of someone else's earth. In 1949, the Sodders paid for an excavation. A pathologist from Washington examined the site, and a small number of human vertebrae were recovered. As reported by Smithsonian Magazine, the subsequent Smithsonian analysis found that the bones came from a single individual, older than any of the missing children, and showed no evidence of exposure to fire. The likeliest explanation offered was that they had arrived with the filled dirt, which is the whole case in miniature. The one piece of physical evidence anyone ever produced turned out to have nothing to do with the fire. So return to where we started. 5 children, no remains. For 75 years, that absence has been read as a message, read the other way. It says something less satisfying, and probably truer, that in December of 1945, in a small town with a volunteer fire department and no forensic capability, a fire destroyed a house, and then the response to that fire destroyed the only chance anyone had of knowing what was in it. Nobody proved the children survived. Nobody proved they died. Sylvia, the last of the surviving Sodder children, died in 2021, still without an answer. The uncomfortable thing about this case is not that it points somewhere, it's that it can't. The room where it happened is gone, and it was never searched.
Take me down to the riverbed.